Sure. So my name is Morrison. I'm an artist and a writer, and I like to think of myself as a geographer, even though that's not really true. But what it means is that I'm really interested in why things happen in the places that they do. And in particular, I'm very committed to the kind of tactics and strategies of placemaking that arise in the Black diaspora, both moving across space, making new semblances of home, and trying to think of these things as these ancestral technologies that allow us to orient in times of uncertainty or times of precarity. The future conditional in its simplest form is really a series of sculptures that I've been working on. There's sculptures that both emit sound, but are also made from textiles, from weavings in particular. And it's a project that takes its name from the scholar Tina Campt, who writes about a Black feminist futurity. And in the ways that she writes about it, she speaks of it as a kind of grammar, and as a grammar that relates to time. And she says that it's the future perfect conditional tense, which would mean what must have happened in order to allow for something to become realized or to become kind of actionable. So it's a space of this kind of speculative potential that could either go forwards or go backwards. And I'm kind of speculating backwards a little bit. And I see the future conditional as a network of how to tap into ancestral intelligences, responding to times of uncertainty or precarity. And this work really emerged from doing a lot of research into histories of predictive computing algorithms, particularly those that were deployed in American cities during the Cold War, and that were often trying to assess threat, which was always racialized and always kind of coded as Black political rebellion. So in the face of that history, I wanted to speculate backwards and think, well, what must have happened in order for there to be a different kind of practice, a different kind of network that is not about prediction and not about the racial violence of prediction, but instead find its origins and its forms in moving across space and also sharing information. And so the future conditional for me is this kind of speculative network that, again, breaks from this dependence on prediction and asks how we might build a relationship to uncertainty, and what are the knowledges that we already have that might prepare us for that. And so this is the reason that I am interested in Black diasporic pattern making, in weaving. I'm interested in forms that are usually made through ensemble and usually have a kind of improvisational nature to them. And so a lot of the weavings that I'm interested in are narrow loom weavings for that reason, because the patterns are improvised and then they're stitched together in order to create a kind of whole form. And in doing so, it's also a way to kind of point back to some histories of computing that are so determined by pattern in particular. We wouldn't have things like data or databases without this concept of pattern, which is usually used to determine what is important and then what is unimportant, what is signal and what is noise. And patterns are usually thought to be uniformed and they repeat. And this is a way that we're able to structure information into data, or it's a way that large computational algorithms are able to determine meaning by like what repeats and what's seen as a pattern. So the reason I'm drawn to these textile practices is that their patterns are improvisational, they don't repeat, they're not uniform, they're made by multiple people kind of coming together. And so as a form of information, then it's deeply socially entrenched, and again, is an example of what it means to have a relationship to uncertainty, and the kind of anxiety of that uncertainty is held in the relationship of the people that are making these forms together. So a very different way of encoding or constructing information, a very different way to think again about something like computing.